Welcome to Ballet Bites, where we dig deep into how scandal and style shook the ballet world. Today, we're diving into how audiences and art collided, and whether the Ballets Russes uproars were, engineered PR or just genuine shock.
Yeah, I'm super intrigued by that mix of strategy and spontaneity. So, let's kick it off with the iconic snapshots: the Rite of Spring, Parade, and Le Train Bleu.
Exactly. The Rite of Spring, premiered in 1913, brought pounding, off-kilter rhythms and Nijinsky's earthbound stomps with an opening night uproar that split opinions. And then there's Parade in 1917 with Picasso's giant cardboard costumes and a score featuring noisemakers like typewriters and foghorns.
And let's not forget Le Train Bleu in 1924, where Coco Chanel's sleek, sportswear-inspired designs helped slide ballet into a modern lifestyle. That fashion edge really generated a fresh angle in the art.
Yes, certainly. So, here's the kicker, the big question. Were these scandals attention-getters, like engineered by Diaghilev, or did audiences just totally freak out? Diaghilev reportedly told Cocteau, "Étonne-moi," or "astonish me," which spurs the idea that shock was kind of on demand.
Yep, right. But then there's the twist. Some, like the Guardian's centenary look and various eyewitness accounts, argue that it wasn't a well-rehearsed brawl in the aisles, but more of a noisy, organic, chaotic response.
Absolutely. It's like a combustible mix. Radical painters, composers, and choreographers all colliding in wartime and post-war Paris, where tension was high. Diaghilev seemed to be cultivating a contagious edge without controlling every reaction.
And that brings us to a subtle point. While he set up the conditions, the art itself was the spark. So, was it PR finesse or natural audience upheaval?
I lean toward it being both. Engineered in the sense that Diaghilev built the lab with all the right explosive elements, but then let the work detonate on its own. Picture it like a chemistry experiment. You mix the reagents, but then you still can't predict every reaction.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like the artistic equivalent of setting up a surprise party and then watching everyone's genuine reactions. But I'm wondering, is it possible that we're over-romanticizing the chaos?
That's a good critique. I mean, some experts like Alex Ross urge us to reassess the legends, instead of just rehashing a myth of pure bedlam. It reminds us that while the uproar made for compelling headlines, the real innovation was in the blend of art forms.
Speaking of blending, let's talk reconstructions, specifically the Rite of Spring. The Joffrey Ballet's 1987 attempt to revive Nijinsky's choreography sparked decades of debates. People questioned, was this a pure archaeological recovery or a reimagined modern adaptation?
Oh, totally. It's like trying to recover a lost language. On one hand, you get the authenticity, but on the other, you risk smoothing out those radical edges that made the original so shocking.
And that conversation about authenticity versus imagination is pretty crucial today. When a reconstruction smooths the original angularity to suit modern sensibilities, you might be losing the very provocation that defined the piece.
Absolutely. And that debate isn't just academic. It's central to how we experience art historically and in our current cultural landscape. Plus, it brings in the idea of living theater versus museum exhibit. A static relic might preserve the past, but a living performance invites new interpretations.
Exactly. And then there's the cool merge of fashion and money. Chanel, for instance, went from being a mere admirer to a key collaborator with Le Train funding projects and even designing costumes that propelled ballet into modern lifestyle.
Right, it's like when you mix couture with performance, the visual impact becomes almost inseparable from the art itself. But here's an interesting counterpoint. Doesn't the infusion of money risk softening the radical impulses? Could corporate patronage like Chanel's dilute that edge?
I get where you're coming from, but I respectfully challenge that idea just a bit. If done with integrity, such sponsorship can actually elevate the art. Diaghilev himself balanced these alliances without watering down the shock factor.
True. Right. It's all about how you manage the mix. And look at modern examples. The English National Ballet's 2025 revival of Le Train at V&A East showcased playful, modern twists, like mixed reality projections and live field recordings, that kept the work provocative without losing its historical soul.
Exactly. Shedding light on how modern scandal in ballet isn't about a brawl in a theater, but about, ideological friction. Today's scandal might challenge decolonizing narratives, body norms, and even the traditional boundaries between and modern multimedia.
Yep, and that's a major evolution. Remember how earlier scandals involved physical uproar? Now, it's about rethinking the parameters of performance, like using onstage Foley and live electronics to break established norms.
So, to sum up our layered takeaways, first, Diaghilev's approach was a Gesamtkunstwerk, combining painting, music, choreography, and design into one strategic message that said, "This is new, deal with it."
Exactly. Second, the uproar at the Rite of Spring wasn't simply a riot. It was the result of a radical blend of Stravinsky's disruptive rhythms, Nijinsky's unconventional movement, and a visionary aesthetic that challenged everything that came before.
And third, reconstructions like the Joffrey's 1987 revival that authenticity in ballet isn't neutral. It's a set of choices that shape our historical narrative and our modern experience.
Right. Fourth, the interplay of fashion and finance, long exemplified by Chanel, remains integral. This blend fuels both the visibility and the creative daring of ballet, even while it raises questions about maintaining that provocative edge.
And fifth, what counts as scandal today is vastly different. Instead of fought-over aisles in a theater, it's now ideological clashes, challenges to traditional narratives, and innovative, sometimes controversial staging methods that keep audiences engaged.
Precisely. And if you think about it, these layered provocations are what keeps the art form alive and continually evolving. Diaghilev set the stage by cultivating the possibility of scandal, then, well, let the art and the audience ignite the conversation.
Yes, it's that irresistible tension between engineered conditions and spontaneous audience response that really defines the Ballets Russes' legacy. So, would you say that, in essence, Diaghilev was both a master planner and a visionary, letting art speak for itself?
Absolutely. It's like he built a playground for daring experimentation. He assembled the right, radical ingredients, and then allowed the work, its own presence, to cause an uproar. The audience essentially provided the oxygen for the fire he started.
Right on. And looking at today's ballet, we see that legacy repeated. Modern productions, be they infused with high-tech surprises or layered ideological messages, a testament to that original daring spirit.
Exactly. It's a reminder that art isn't static. It evolves, challenges, and sometimes intentionally shocks to compel discussion. And if audiences are still debating decades later, well, that means the essence of the scandal still smolders.
Absolutely. I love that energy. The idea that the real win is in sparking ongoing dialogue, whether it's whispering in a cafe or sparking debates online. It's a modern performance in itself.
Totally. And while we focus on whether these scandals were engineered or just natural outbursts, the real takeaway is that this collision of art, finance, and innovative design gives us much to ponder. It challenges us to rethink what it means to be bold, whether in 1913 or 2025.
And as we look forward, the question isn't just how to replicate that shock, but how to evolve it, keeping that critical, dissenting spirit alive while adapting to new cultural and technological landscapes.
Right, exactly. So, in closing this vibrant discussion, we can say that the Ballets Russes' legacy is a fascinating interplay of PR-engineered setups and organic, unpredictable audience reactions. Diaghilev knew how to make art that was both a spectacle and a statement.
You got it. And if today's producers channel even a fraction of that energy and daring, ballet will continue to be a living, evolving dialogue, a collision between the past's provocations and today's innovations.
Absolutely. For anyone listening, think about this. If post-show debates are buzzing, whether on social media or over coffee, then the art has truly struck its chord.
Yep, that's a wrap on today's deep dive into scandal, art, and the evolving world of ballet. Thanks for joining this spirited conversation.
Thanks for tuning in and sharing your thoughts. Keep challenging the norms. And remember, sometimes the best art is the one that still manages to astonish even decades later.
Until next time, keep the conversation dancing and the surprises coming.